Greetings, everyone. This is Malik Assad Jafar, philosophical philosopher and superstar. Let's get right to it. As we're looking in the background, you see we are here at the ranch, okay, the compound, if you'd like to call that, undisclosed location. I came down here I don't want to necessarily say take a break, but I will definitely say to become grounded with nature and spirituality, which leads me to the topic that we are going to go over today, and it's called resiliency. Look at the rock quarry. We're in the rock quarry here. Really beautiful place, in like a hole, if you will. It's so quiet. If you're not comfortable with yourself, it can become a little bit eerie, you know. Thought I saw a snake. But in any event, when I talk about resiliency, there's a lot of people who will talk about resiliency. But as I'm talking about resiliency, I'd like to take a different perspective, if you will, of resiliency. In fact, let's talk a little bit about myself. In the last 9-10 months, almost a year, let me explain a little bit about my lifestyle and what has happened. I'm not going to go into November. Let's go December, if you will, of 2016. During this time, my mother and father were both admitted to the emergency room. My mom she wasn't put, but it was recommended by one of the doctors that she be put on hospice care. My dad's blood was toxic due to he was taking steroids to help with his muscle movement, but at the same time, the infection was eating on those steroids and creating a problem for him. That was December. Let's see. In January, during this time that this was going on, January, I had my first real conversation with my common law wife, and she, based on what was going on, decided that this was the end of the road for us after 10 years and several children together. My mother was put in a position to be on dialysis at this time. She was released from, she recommended hospice, put her in a nursing home. She got out of the nursing home, and now she has to deal with dialysis. And she was going through different dialysis centers that were not, their bedside manner was less than appropriate. And during this time, I had to assist family in figuring out where she could end up going to, get her transferred to a place that was more appropriate for her needs. That's, around February. March, my dad was still in the hospital. We were able to see his 81st birthday, the beginning of March. About 6 days after that, he passed away. In April, the difficulties of the job, and don't get me started on the job, but the difficulties at the job between audits and you name it were becoming tumultuous to juggle and manage with family life. And I ended up having to get put on FMLA, which I thought was a good thing. But then when I applied for FMLA the following week, the HR department gave me two options: to resign or be terminated. I spoke out on that and I said, no, I don't think that's appropriate. And I emailed several individuals and that was retracted. I'll get back to that in just a second. Needless to say, FMLA, no pay. Okay, you're supposed to get paid, but I didn't. Long story. Trying to juggle taking care of my mother and manage how my family was dealing with what was going on. And as a person who considers themselves a counselor of sorts, you're mindful of everyone else's feelings except for your own. And it's when you get in the position to do this often, it actually becomes a place that's comfortable but unhealthy to do that, because you have to take care of self. The following month, I was released from my job. Okay, was released, so there was no going back to that. After that, have been on a constant, I would say, process of trying to gain normalcy in regards to what a societal norm is. And I've come to a revelation that the universe does not put people in positions that they don't want to be in. They put people in positions for them to be what they need to be. Okay? Now, so when we talk about, end scene. So with that said, that when I'm talking about resiliency, there has been a number of different things that have taken place in my life within the last 8 or 9 months. And so resiliency is being able to maintain and have some level of equilibrium within your life. Now, bad. I talked about all these things that were unfortunate and negative, but at the same time, it's not just about the bad things. It's also about the good things, because sometimes people don't know how to celebrate themselves. Sometimes people don't know how to appreciate good things. They've had bad things happen so long that when something good happens, they act a certain kind of way. They shift so hard that they end up tilting the pendulum or the fulcrum in such a way, they end up teetering in such a way, the seesaw in such a way that there is an imbalance. Okay? And so resiliency is not just about managing your life when things are bad. It's also being able to maintain and appreciate when things are good. And some people don't recognize that. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there in regards to what resiliency actually is. And the main thing that you have to do is kind of like what I'm doing now. Wow, all of that over there. I'm grounding myself. And also, let me tell you this. In order for a person to maintain a type of equilibrium, you have to know what the mean is. You have to know what causes you to be balanced. I know some people who are either angry and dissatisfied or talking shit about something that's going on. And surprisingly enough, there is some level of balance with that, because I call them crisis junkies. They have to have that. It makes them feel normal. But to a person who's passive and peaceful, to have some kind of chaos in their life, if they're not used to being exposed to that, if you don't know what your mean is, if you don't know what the base of who you are as a person is, how do you maintain equilibrium? And if you're wanting to recreate yourself and be something new and be something different, what is your standard? What does a standard mean? What is your definition or understanding of your baseline? Because without that, you can't have resilience. And there's a big difference between being resilient and being tolerant, because there's some people who will tolerate a lot of shit, put up with a whole lot of stuff, and then they never teeter back. They stay stuck in this place right here. And sometimes they get stuck in it for so long that it creates problems in your life. Thus, depression, thus, anxiety, fill in the blank. It happens. So I guess what I would like for everyone to know is that before you try to establish some form of balance in your life and be resilient or display resiliency in what you've got going on, know what it is that you want. Know who it is you want to be and know how to get it. With that said, y'all stay safe, be blessed, and I'll see you next time. Peace.